Hello, fellow translators. Today I wanted to share with you another article by Yonis Buzzi, and I will link to it once again in the description below, but I kind of wanted to share it with you once again. I thought it would be interesting to share you the screen of it. The article title is 3 Reasons Why Charging More for Difficult Source Text is Unjustifiable, Recommendations for Translators and Translation Agencies. It's a bit long, but I think it's quite important what he discusses. And so let me get into it a bit. So he starts off, he says, every now and then I come across posts by translators and even agencies stating that they charge more for difficult source texts. Based on my discussions with and reactions from these translators, this practice seems to be widespread. I, however, find this practice unjustifiable. And so why is this? Well, basically what he does is he goes into the difference between challenging and difficult, right? And he goes into what these differences are and why they're important. So here's some examples of challenging projects, right? Something that requires complex formatting. Like you have this a lot with certificates or something like that. If you need to spend a lot of time formatting and making sure the alignment's fine, that that it works with the original, etc., then yeah, that's a challenging project because it takes a while to work on that. Another one is presence of numerously relatively rare official names or organizations. So if you have something like, and the MLA and the ALTA and the BBCA and blah, 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 this means you need to look up all these associations or organizations, which, you need to look them up and then look up what the acronym is in your target language. And yeah, so this can be kind of a pain and it can take quite a while to do stuff like that. Or another example is barely legible handwriting. So if you're dealing with, say, letters or something like that, and you have to read someone's handwriting, which can be atrocious, then this can take a long time as well. So for all of these examples, it's okay to charge more because it will take up more of your time. And so this is something that the client needs to take into account, and you can feel justified charging more. And he says it is okay to charge more for challenging projects because you spend more time on them regardless of how experienced or qualified you are. But the problem comes when you have something, and I'll just give my example. I do legal and financial translations, and every now and then I get asked to do a medical translation, and I flat out refuse. But I've noticed that every now and then some other people who maybe specialize in legal translations, they say, I can do medical translation, but it'll cost you more. And they charge more for medical or for other types of engineering or technical translations, even though they have no expertise in that. That's different. That's not just challenging, that's something that's outside of your expertise, and you're basically just charging more because you think you can, even though you're not really able to give a good product because it's not one of your specializations. And so that's why he goes into how it could be indicative of your artificially inflated rates. You're basically inflating your rates artificially just because you kind of figure you can. You have a disrespect for highly qualified professionals because this means that people who are actually specialized in medical translations won't get the job because you decided to do it yourself and just charge more. And not only that, it'll probably take you longer to do it than it would for a professional, someone who knows, say, medical translations. And so you're charging more for that extra time, even though it's not really warranted. Plus low integrity standards, because let's face it, if a text is difficult, then that means that, you aren't qualified or you lack the experience. And so you shouldn't be accepting projects in that field, and you certainly shouldn't be charging more for projects in that field when your quality is going to be subpar, because that just shows low integrity. And so then he goes on to have some recommendations, not only for translators, but also for agencies and direct clients that deal with translators and how to deal with that. Sorry, there's an ambulance driving by. Anyway. I don't know if you could hear that, but I want to pause. But anyway, he goes into these recommendations for translators and translation agencies and direct clients. So feel free to check it out. Once again, I will link to the article so you can read through the whole thing, and I think it's quite interesting and does merit a read. But I kind of wanted to point it out to you and go over the main points that he talks about, because I do think it's an important thing that's not really being addressed all that much. But it should be addressed because very often there can be issues because of this. Let's face it, especially, and I keep coming back to medical translations because very often lives can be at stake for these, And so for someone who is not specialized in medical translations to say, I'm going to charge more because it'll be harder for me, even though the quality won't be as good and it wouldn't be that much harder for someone who specializes in it, is really not a good strategy for anyone involved. So that's pretty much it. Do check out the article and give it a read, and feel free to leave a comment or whatever for Yonis Buzzi. And once again, this was his article, but it's my video, so if there's something I said incorrectly or whatever, then that's my fault, not his. But you know, the best thing is just to read the article and see what he says. So that's pretty much it, and I will talk to you next time. Okay, thanks, bye. Oh, and by the way, yeah, feel free to let me know what you think about this in terms of difficult and challenging texts and the difference and how to go about it, because it can be a bit iffy, and I think sometimes you don't even think about it. You know, many people think, oh, that'll take me a longer time, so I'll just charge more for that, without questioning, wait, is it taking me a longer time because it's challenging, because I have a lot of things I have to do, or is it taking me a longer time because it's not my expertise, and so I need to figure out how to translate it, you know, because these are two very different things. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'll talk to you in the next video. Okay, thanks, bye. Savidum.